Last week, we looked at a number of different topics. So we looked at why you want to run your business, what type of business you want to run, market research, personal finance, company structures and tax, and funding your business. And today, we are going to look at bringing money into your business, money going out of your business, marketing, design, sales, business planning, and cash flow. So the session is being recorded and we will make that available online, as well as a copy of the slides and any resources that you might deem to be relevant. But do feel free to make some notes if you would like. So the first thing to look at is money in. The main reason that you start a business is to make money. And there are a few things that you can do to make sure that the money comes in when you expect it to. So here you will see some things that you can do as a business owner to make sure that you are paid on time. The first thing is to set up customer accounts. So you will need to have all of their details available so that you can contact them when necessary. So if they haven't paid, if you have information about deliveries, various things like that. Providing a customer with an estimate or quote, agreeing the terms of business. So make it clear how and when payment is to be expected. Carrying out the work, so being able to show that you have completed the work. Confirm that the transaction has been completed, so both you and your client agree that you have completed the work. Provide an invoice so that you can take payment. Provide the customer with a receipt so they have proof that they've made a purchase from you, and being sure that you follow up in the future. So following up doesn't bring money in immediately, but it reminds your customers that you're there and can create repeat business. So I just mentioned estimates and quotes, and I just want to explain what the difference is between those things. So a quote is a fixed price. That is what the customer will expect to pay. But an estimate is an approximation. So an estimate is a guess at what the cost will be around, but it is subject to change potentially. So it's important to make it clear which one of these you are providing to the customer, as you may be held to your price if you issue a quote, but you meant to issue an estimate. And what we have here is the example of an invoice. So there is some key information that should be included. So that's your company details. So the name and address of your company, the date that the invoice is raised, the invoice number, and then who the invoice is due to go to. So their name, company name, address. You then want to show which items or services have been provided, the price, the total, and then the payment terms. And we now turn our attention to what we call money out. So we want to have as much money as possible coming in, but as a business, it's much easier when you pay money out on time where it is due. This makes sure that your cash flow is accurate and that you'll have a good reputation for making payment. So this means that you should be able to get better prices and deals from your suppliers. There is something that you can join called the prompt payment code. This is a voluntary thing. Any business can sign up to this, and it basically just shows that your business will pay on time and is reliable, and that will encourage other businesses to effectively do business with you. When it comes to making payments out of the business, there are, again, a number of steps that you should take. So set up a business account and agree the term of business. This means that all of the parties' expectations are set. Think about on what terms you are paying. You can pay pro forma, which means that you pay upfront, or you can have an account, which means you might not have to pay for 30, 60, or even 90 days after you've received the goods. Ensure that you are provided with a purchase invoice. So this will show what was owed, how to pay it. And remember that you will need to keep this paperwork on file for at least 6 years. Establish a payment method that works for everyone. And once payment is made, you may decide to provide the supplier with remittance advice. So what this is a form that will show when and how payment has been made, so that the company you're buying from can search their records and see that money coming in. And finally, it's really important to ensure that you have understood the returns policy in full, so it avoids any issues moving forward. We've just got somebody joining us now, which is fantastic. So now we are going to be having a quick look at marketing. And on the next slide, there is a video that I'm going to play you, which will talk about what we call the marketing mix, or the 4 Ps of marketing. So let me just share my sound with you.
The marketing mix. It's a combination of the 4 Ps: product, price, promotion, and place. When we talk about product, we mean things like the quality of the product, the design, the packaging it's sold in, and the brand. Price not only refers to the retail price, but also any discounts. Do you accept payment plans? Are there any specific credit terms if the customer has to borrow money to buy your product? Promotion deals with any advertising. Personal selling. Are there salespeople? Public relations? Emails? Anything that gets the word out. Place. Do you have a retail location or a storefront? Do you deliver? Can the product be downloaded? Basically, all distribution methods. Let's say you want to sell hamburgers. Great, but first you need to know your target market. Who are you going to sell hamburgers to? Well, hello there. Your target market will affect your 4 Ps. In this case, you'll want a very high-end hamburger. Consider a product that features truffles, which are super expensive stinky mushrooms. Oh, that sounds delightful. You're going to have to charge a lot because your cost will be high. $25. A good promotion might be an advertisement in Fancy Pants magazine. And a perfect place to sell the hamburger would be at the Polo Club. Okay, but what if we have a different target market? What about this guy? Peace man. This marketing mix won't work for him. Consider a vegetarian burger. You won't be able to charge much. You may even have to loan him money. Thanks, dude. Including good karma fries will encourage him to spread the word. And selling them in a public park would be a good idea. Okay, but what about this target market? Arr! Again, we should adapt the marketing mix. He spends a lot of time at sea, so waterproof packaging would be a good idea. He doesn't have any cash, but has plenty of goats on board. Who doesn't love a free Viking helmet? Ooh. And you'll need to deliver. So there you have it. The 4 Ps make up the marketing mix: product, price, promotion, and place.
Okie dokie. So we have just seen the 4 main points of marketing. So those are product, price, promotion, and place. So we're just going to look at how you might promote your business. So remember that you are the most important thing when it comes to your business, and it is you that people will buy into. So speak to people and get the word out. If you're passionate about your business, people will understand that and they will feel it themselves. And that will really encourage them to place their business with you. Make sure that your logo or branding is identifiable and unique. There are also traditional marketing routes. So we're looking at things like newspapers, the radio, business directories, having business stationery made up, and also turn to technology. So have a website, email, blog, or social media platforms. So these are all fantastic ways to promote your business. So just before we move on from the marketing element, has anybody got any questions at this point? All right, okie dokie, no problem. So we're now going to just move on and have a very quick look at design. So design is a really important part of your business. A lot of people tend to ignore it and don't understand how vital it is, but design and marketing go hand in hand. The design of your brand is everything. So when you look at companies like Google or eBay, you know who they are, mainly because their brand is recognizable. If you can make a recognizable and unique logo, your customers are more likely to remember you when they see you. They'll recognize exactly what your logo is when they see you online, or when they see your business cards, or when they pick up a pen that has your logo on it. Just had somebody else join the group. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. And now we move forward to have a quick look at sales. So when it comes to sales, there are a couple of definitions for us to bear in mind. So what is selling? Selling means to dispose of or get rid of an item in exchange for money or in exchange for another item. Then we have the other side of selling, which means to persuade or convince someone that something is valuable or important. And there are a number of ways that you can make sales. So it's important to consider where you intend to sell your goods. So you will see on this slide that there are lots of places that you can hope to sell items, and they all come with good points and bad points. So we've got the slide here showing you could sell your items in a shop. So that could be your own shop or somebody else's. Now, one of the good points is that you get footfall. So you get all of the other people going to the shops around you that might just come into your shop because you're there. But on the other hand, you've got the fact that you are potentially competing with retail giants. So that's massive organizations on the high street. So, you know, your big contenders, places like Argos or Sports Direct or New Look, you know, depending on what product or service that you offer. So what's really good about that is that you can get through to people quickly, and you can also get through to a large number of people in quite a short space of time. But on the other hand, we know that selling over the phone is impersonal. We all get telephone calls from people trying to sell us things. And I think people have now become a little bit wise to picking up the phone and handing over their bank details. So you've got that to deal with. If you make sales on your own website, It is really cheap for you to set up, but then you've got the whole world that you're competing with. You have to make sure that your website is coming up, on that first page of Google to really be considered as a contender in the market. But there are, of course, websites such as eBay or Amazon or Etsy. So we already have a proven platform. It already works. People are on there all the time. They're multi-billion-pound websites effectively. So that's a really great place to start. But on the other hand, you have third-party costs. So you will have to give some of the money that you make to eBay or Amazon or Etsy for them directing that sale to you. And networking and word of mouth, this is a great way to sell goods and services. Like I say, people appreciate you. They want to see your personality, and you can give that out for free. So that's a fantastic thing about networking. But the only thing about that is that there are no guarantees that this will be effective. You don't know if the person you speak to in the queue at Tesco is going to go home and go on your website and make that purchase. Then we've got via a sales team. So with this, the results are almost guaranteed. If you have a reliable and proven salesperson, they will be able to ensure that you get those sales. The negative with this is that it is costly. It is expensive to pay somebody else to make those sales for you. And the final one to consider is social media. So we know that social media has, it's massive now. And over the last 10 years, all it has done is increase. So it's great because it boosts your brand awareness, and there are certain groups of people that you are almost guaranteed to get through to. But this has its own set of drawbacks because we know that it is usually younger people on social media looking to make these sorts of purchases. So if your service is designed to mainly suit the elderly, social media is probably not the best place to be marketing it. And once you know where you plan to sell goods, it's important for you to figure out how you will make those sales. So the first thing is to make sure you are selling to the right people. Have you done your market research? So is your product well suited to the people you are trying to sell it to? So we saw this in the video a moment ago. He's talking about how you can have a product and you can market it to either, very rich people that have a lot of disposable income, or you might market it to somebody that, hasn't got a lot of money, is maybe slightly younger and has a different set of interests. So it's making sure that your product fits those people. Make sure you are confident. That is absolutely key when making any sale. If you don't feel confident, but it's something that you would like to grow, what I would recommend is pick up the phone, speak to, maybe 20, 30, 40 people. You may not make any sales, but just get used to talking about your business with strangers, and that there in itself will grow your confidence. And remember that people buy benefits. So what that means is that you need to have what is called a competitive advantage or a unique selling point. So something that makes you different to the other people that do something similar to you. Remember, your goods and services will need to be properly and fairly priced. If something is too expensive, people will not feel comfortable parting with their money. And finally, remember, it may in fact be that somebody else is best placed to make the sales for your business. If you lack confidence or time, It may be that you would be better off by finding somebody else with sales skills within your business to ensure that you do make those sales. Because if you're not making any sales, the business isn't going to work regardless of how good your idea is. So the next thing we're going to look at is business planning. So I just want to check, so we've had a couple of new people join us. Has anybody got any questions or queries? We do have Michal here who's available to translate if you would like. So just want to put that back to you guys. We got any questions for now? No?
Sorry, hi, my name is Tarek. Just wanted to add to what you've said earlier about different platforms. I just came across a new one that is coming up, and this is called, I don't know if you heard about it, it's called Free Trade app. This is meant to be like exchange of services and goods between people, local people especially. It's only been sort of launched, but it's not live. So something that is going to be, I suppose, you know, available in the very near future. I can send a link if you like.
That sounds fantastic, and also seems like a really good resource for, you know, anybody that's wanting to get started in business and
yeah, it's
hasn't
basically
got maybe that extra money.
Yeah, it's basically meant to cut the middleman. Because we're all paying for, you know, through eBay or other media, we are paying for the services either as a seller or a buyer.
Exactly. So that sounds like a really interesting one. So that's Free Trade, everyone. So keep your eyes peeled. That's something that will hopefully be available in our local areas fairly soon.
Yeah, cheers.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. So now, as I say, we will be looking at business planning. So the first thing is, why do you need a business plan? Well, firstly, is that it will help you to identify your strengths and weaknesses as a business. It will help you to focus your attention, so you will know where you need support or assistance, where you can possibly improve, what's going well. So it's a fantastic tool to measure your success against. Not only that, but a business plan will be required in pretty much all circumstances when you're applying for funding. So if you are interested in getting grants, so that's money that doesn't have to be paid back, you will need a comprehensive business plan. So it's worth knowing that 70% of businesses that start without a plan most likely fail. So the first copy of your business plan is for you. So write it in a way that suits you. If you don't like reading big chunks of information, write it as a list or do drawings, pictures, whatever helps you to understand your business better, because this document is going to serve as that, your full understanding of the business, and you will need to feel confident and comfortable about moving forward on the basis of that plan. So these are all of the things that you will need to consider during the business planning stage. We will provide a copy of a blank business plan for any of you that do want to go away and write your own. This will be made available after the sessions. So first and foremost, we have the basics. We want to know the name of your business, your name, your contact details, the date that you are writing the business plan, and your business website information if you have one. The next thing to do is describe your business. So start off by describing your business in one sentence. So to give you an example, eBay would be an online-based auction website, or Google is an online service that provides access to the archives of the internet. So once you can describe your business in just one very short sentence, you should then be able to provide a more in-depth description. Use this as a chance to lay out the services or products that you provide and how you intend to go about providing them. So one thing that I often say to people with business ideas is to do something that we call the elevator pitch. So imagine that you are waiting for an elevator or a lift, and there is somebody stood next to you that could impact your business. So they might be able to provide you with investment, and they ask you to tell you something about their business, about your business, sorry. So you will most likely only have about 45 seconds to describe your business to them in a way that is impactful and leaves an impression. So try to describe your business in that sort of length of time and get as much useful information in there as you can. Okay. Then it's important to think about your business objectives or your business goals. What is it that you hope your business will achieve? Now, I would recommend at first doing goals quarterly. So that is every 3, 6, 9, and 12 months. And then after this, you'll be considering short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals. So I would say at the end of year 1, at the end of year 2, and at the end of year 3. So set a target that is both financial and non-financial for all of these periods. So to give you a rough idea, say my 3-month goal might be that I would like to have an office space for my business rather than working at home. And I would like to be at a point where I am making £1,000 a month. So that's a financial goal and a non-financial goal that I would like to meet within 3 months of trading. And by setting these objectives or goals, you can see if your business is moving in the direction that you want it to. If it's not, you can put things in place to make sure that you meet those goals, or it may be that your goals have been too ambitious, too difficult, because everything takes longer than you initially think it will. The next thing to think about are if there are any qualifications, skills, or training that is required to run your business. So do you already have those qualifications and skills? And if not, how will you go about obtaining them? This is a really important one when it comes to new business, as it could be that the industry that you want to go into is regulated. So for example, if I wanted to go away and become a mechanic, I would need to go and get those relevant qualifications before I was able to set up that business. Then we are thinking about target customers. So we've been talking about market research, marketing, and how to ask those sorts of questions. And part of your business plan should be used to consider who your target customers or your demographic are. So what are their features? Are they young? Are they old? What kind of spare income do they have? What are their interests? Where do they live? Think about why your product or service is needed on the market, and consider your approach on pricing. Why are your goods or services priced in this particular way? So basically what you are doing is you are asking yourself questions to make sure that you know who exactly you plan to sell to. And market research is not only important when it comes to customers, it's also absolutely vital when you are thinking about the competition that's on the market. So look at who in your area is offering the same service or products that you do. Try to find out how many customers they have, how much money have they made, like, so what was their turnover or their profit in the last tax year. If they are a limited company, you will most likely be able to find this information on Companies House. So look at how they perform and what do you do that is different. So what is your unique selling point? So unique selling points are things that you will do differently to your competitors. So you should have a good idea of what your unique selling point is. List all of the things that make your business different. It might be that you offer fantastic customer service. It could be that your products or service are cheaper than your competitors. It could be that you have an eco-friendly approach to business, and therefore there are certain customers that will be more inclined to do business with you as opposed to the competitors on the market. And then we look at sales and marketing. So we've briefly touched upon this today, and you're going to be thinking in this section of the business plan, how do you intend to market your business? So how will you advertise? Will you put an advert in the post office? Will you be sending out emails, making phone calls, advertising on social media, sending out leaflets? There's a whole manner of ways that you can get people to know that your business is there and that you exist, basically. And have a think about how you intend to make sales. So will you have products in a shop? Will you be selling online? Will you have a sales team? You need to make all of this clear so that you have an idea of which direction your business is going in. And then have a think about what we call operational plans. So these are the relationships that you will have in the business that are kind of outside the customer business relationship. So try to think about who are your suppliers? Where do you get the items that you need in order to sell products from? And I think for a lot of people, it's easy to forget that your suppliers can be people like, or places like Tesco or Asda, your local corner shop, Amazon. So have a think about those places that you get items from. What are the terms that you operate on? So what have you agreed with that supplier in terms of how you make payment? How do you get the goods? What do you do if they are out of stock? Have a think about things like staff. So these are other relationships that are not relating to the customer. Do you intend to hire any staff? Do you already have staff? How many hours will they work? And how much are you able to pay them? These are things that are all worth thinking about so that you can plan for them as you move forward in the future. And your business premises. So you will need to consider where you plan to work from. It may be that you can work from home, in which case there will be minimal premises costs. But for some people, it may be that you require a dedicated work area. So it could be that you need an office or a workshop or a garage or storage. So have a think about where is the best location? Because if you need a shop, you will most likely want that to be somewhere out on the high street. If you need storage, it may be that you can have that just outside, but you want it closer to your home so that you can access your goods quicker. And have a think about price. So quite often you will pay less for a less desirable location. So consider how you can get the best of both. If you need a location that customers are likely to go to, it may be worth spending the extra money to ensure that you do get that client footfall. And you will also need to think about whether there are any legal or insurance obligations that you will need to adhere to. So does your business have any regulations that it will need to comply with? Are there any particular insurances that you will need to have in place before you can start trading? So we did talk about this in the last session. So if you are a sole trader, it may be that you would want to have an insurance to limit your financial liability in case there is any debt owed by the company. For most businesses, you will need what is called public liability insurance. So this will cover you in a situation where somebody is injured, during the provision of your product or service. And having this in place will prevent there being any financial consequence on yourself directly. And then we are looking at equipment or transport. Do you have a vehicle? If not, what sort of vehicle might you require? How much will they cost up front? Or do you intend to hire the equipment or the vehicles that you need? Consider if there will be any upkeep costs. And also, how do you intend to pay? So that leads us to looking at financial details. So how do you intend to get funding? It may be that you have put your own money into the business, or you might have borrowed money from family, or you might be lucky enough that your family might gift you some money. Have you had a grant? So this is money that is often provided by the government or social enterprises such as the National Lottery or Big Issue Invest, where they get pots of money that they will distribute to certain industries depending on who wins their funding bids. Or have you had a loan? You might be able to get a loan from the Startup Loan Company, and they can offer finance of up to £25,000 at an interest rate of 6%. So this might suit some of you if you do need that extra funding to get your business off the ground. It's important that you have a clear idea of where you have gotten the startup money from and whether you have to pay anything back. And this brings us on to the cash flow forecast. So your cash flow forecast will show any money that flows in and out of the business. It allows us to see how much money is needed to start and run the business, and then we can predict or see what sales we could get, as well as being able to see how much we need to sell to cover our costs. So there is an example of a cash flow forecast here. It is quite difficult to complete a cash flow before your business is up and running, but you can do so on the basis of estimates. So we will provide a blank copy for anybody who wants it, and I'll pass that to Jusna to distribute. But there are just a few points on here that I would like to clarify what they mean. So we have in the left-hand column at the top, it says opening balance. So in month 1, it might be that your opening balance is 0. If it doesn't cost you any money to set up your business, your opening balance could well be 0. But if you have put your own money from your own savings into the business, or you have borrowed money from family, or you've got a loan, something like that to start the business, that will be where your opening balance goes. That figure is going to make up your opening balance. Beneath that, we have revenue. So this is the amount of money that you've made during that month from selling your product or service. In the box below that, we have sales and turnover in units. So for example, if I have revenue of £100, and I know that I have sold 10 items at £10, I will then know that it's 10 units that make up that £100. Then below that, we have awards, grants, and other income. So as I say, if you have been lucky enough to win a funding bid and get some grant funds, or you have won some money, that needs to go into that column there. After this, we go through all of the outgoings. So this is money that is coming out of your business. So a drawing, that's money that you take from the business personally in order for you to live month by month. We've then got staff costs, the cost of materials, capital expenditure. So this is money that you spend out for assets like machinery. Costs for income tax and national insurance. Then we've got insurances such as public liability. We've got rent and council tax. Standard bills, so we've got your water, electricity and gas. Your telephone, travel expenses or vehicle expenses. Postage, stationery and printing. Advertising. Any interest you might have to pay out, professional fees, and if there are any costs that haven't been considered, you can put that into the box marked other. So once you know the total amount of outgoings, so the costs, you can take that away from the amount of incoming money that you have, and that will create what is called a closing balance. The figure from your closing balance will then become the opening balance for the following month, and your cash flow will go on and on like this. So like I say, if you do want to complete one of these on the basis of guesswork, that's absolutely fine, and that will then help you to measure whether your business is meeting where you anticipate or expect that it might be on a month-by-month basis. So a blank copy of this will be provided and will be distributed to anybody that wants it, as well as the business plan. So we have absolutely flown through the information today. So if anybody has any questions, please do feel free to ask them now.
Aisha, I have a question. If you could just clarify one thing, because I do believe that most of the participants, they may have something small in mind, like being self-employed, and probably they are at the beginning of the journey, they're going to be the only people employed. And my question is, because of you've mentioned that it's good to have a business account, and the question is, can you use your private account, or you have to open a business account? And if you can have your private one, what do you need to remember about?
Okay, so that's a very good question, and one I was asked earlier on today. So if you are a sole trader, you can use your standard bank account. That said, I would recommend that you open a separate bank account, because otherwise you end up having all of your money lumped in together. So when it comes to doing your tax return, you will then have to go through all of your bank statements to say, okay, so this is business money, this is personal, this is business, this is personal, rather than just having one account where you have the whole statement and you know any money coming in is profit and coming from your business effectively. If you are a limited company, this changes things. You must have a separate business bank account if you are a limited company. The reason for this is because a limited company is regarded as a separate entity. So it is actually in law regarded as a separate person to the business owner. So it's crucial that it has its own finances that are separate to the owner itself. I hope that that answers that one there.
That was a really good question, I just said, Michał. Lovely. And can I have another question regarding, we were talking about sales. And do you know maybe about any business networking groups in our local area that we, for example, we can go to? Because normally in those networking groups are experienced people that we can share information, obviously maybe not in person because of today's situation, but maybe are some groups online. Do you know anything about it, Aisha?
Definitely. So one thing I would recommend, so you all signed up to this, I believe via Eventbrite, and Eventbrite have got some absolutely fantastic networking events. Some of those take place in a lunch break, which is really, really good. And you can get to know people in the Somerset area. There is also the Somerset Local Business Directory. That's on Facebook, which is really, really good. There are Somerset Ladies in Business, which is, I presume, going to be relevant to a couple of people here. And I would also recommend things like LinkedIn. People go to LinkedIn because they want to network. They are wanting to make those connections and reach out. And they also do events on LinkedIn, similar to Eventbrite, where you can go and meet other people and do a bit of that.
Could you repeat, Aisha, just those two, first one, you said Somerset Ladies?
Somerset Ladies in Business, of course, yeah. And then we've also got the Somerset Local Business Directory.
Okay. Thank you very much for that.
No problem at all.
And Aisha, could you just let us know about potential access to the mentors that are allocated in different districts, that perhaps people who start their own business and they've got lots of questions, they could basically use them in order to have that meetings one-to-one and ask them for the clarification. Is it something that Somerset Business Agency provides?
So that is potentially something that we can look to provide, and we are of course here on hand. So if you have got questions, we are available and we are here. If you're looking for more bespoke business advice, I know that we are currently working on some programs to help people get their businesses off the ground. And in terms of mentoring, one thing that is extremely useful to know is that if you have any interested people that are on universal credit, they can request that they are put forward to the new enterprise allowance program. So what that means is that if their business is eligible, they will be assigned a business mentor. They will get 12 weeks worth of support. And once they start trading, they will be eligible for a top up of their universal credit amount. And that goes up by, I believe, £65 for the first 6 months. And then that halves for the next 6 months after that. And there are, there's Heart of the Southwest, which is another avenue into business support. And they work with all of the Somerset district. So I would recommend going to them as well.
Actually, I just got a question. Is there anything, say somebody's not on universal credit, is there anything else that Somerset Business Agency can offer people? What's the range of services people can access?
So I would, as I say, recommend, there's Heart of the Southwest. So that's a separate organisation to those that set up the NEA programme, the New Enterprise Allowance programme. And the Heart of the Southwest Growth Hub basically is very similar. So you will get one-on-one business coaching and support. And we're also, I know that we are currently working on a programme called Get Set for Growth, but we are still just waiting for that to be completed. So SBA have got a lot of things that we are working on at the moment. And as I say, if you do have questions or anything like that, please do feel free to give us a ring, and we'll see, you know, how much support it is that you need and where, you know, we should have somebody that we can recommend you to.
Are there any additional courses that will elaborate a little bit more on what you've talked about the last two sessions?
Yeah. So we are currently running a Somerset Business Startup Programme. So this is a 9-hour course that takes place over 3 days. So it's 3-hour sessions. And it explores all of the themes that we have discussed in the last two sessions in a great deal more detail. And what is fantastic about this course is that it is accredited. So you will receive an award in business startup, so a qualification off the back of completing that. And if you visit our website, you will find on the homepage the Somerset Business Startup application.
Aisha, just quick question. I've heard, I've met many business people along the way, and I've heard not many businessmen have actually business plan or any cash flow chart, you know. Have you noticed that?
I find it very hard to see that a business wouldn't have a cash flow projection. I'm sure they most likely do, but for some it may be that it is held within their accounting program and they might not have even taken a look at it. Business plans, I think for a lot of people, it's very difficult because I think a lot of people don't realize that they're actually doing their business plan. So when you sit down and you write down everything to do with your business before you get it set up, that is basically you doing a business plan, but a lot of people don't really see it in that way. But I think there's a lot to be said for business planning because in my business, so a personal story, I started my business with no business plan. And what I found is that whilst it, you know, it's still going, it's still successful. But what I have found is that it has stopped. So I've reached a point of success and now I don't know where I'm going and I don't know what it is that I want to do in order to progress. And it's actually having a business plan that would enable me to see how I can achieve that. So I would recommend doing so. No problem.
If you wanted to take a loan for the bank to set up your business, what exactly would the bank look for?
Well, what the bank would look for primarily, so of course they would know that it's going to be for your business. They would have a member of staff have a look at your business plan, most likely. So that's a really good point you've just made there. In terms of getting funding, you would need a business plan of that's funding of any kind, whether that's a loan or whether that's a grant. Because what they want to see is that your business is viable, that it's a business idea that can work. And they also want to see that the amount of money that you're asking for is reasonable in terms of the type of business that you want to set up. They will also want to do credit checks. So it's worth knowing your credit score, and the bank will want to know how reliable you are with money before distributing that loan amount. And those are the primary factors. Any other questions?
Yes, if I could ask you something.
Sure.
I'm a self-employed and I've got a one-person business. And in the future, if I would like to expand my business, that means I have to close the sole trade account and open something different, like, I don't know, limited company or something?
No, as a sole trader, you are you're perfectly able to have members of staff. You can choose to have those on a PAYE, so pay as you earn basis if you choose to. But you could similarly have somebody working for you that is also self-employed. And that's not an issue at all. So you are basically then doing what is called subcontracting. So you are in receipt of a contract and you will pass that work on to another person. But no, there's no obligation to shut down your business. You can do that as a sole trader.
Thank you. So basically, because I'm a cleaner, I've got a little business. So if I have more interested customers, then if I start to work with other person who is self-employed as well, that means that we automatically become a partners or something like that, or we could actually both work along each other without changing anything?
You can both work alongside one another without changing anything. Wouldn't I mean, they can be your partner if you want them to be, but just because you're a sole trader, you can still be in charge. You can still be the boss. So say if you get a new customer and I don't know how much you charge, but say you tell them it's £15 an hour, that customer will pay you. The person that you have working alongside you that is self-employed, you could pay them, say, £11 an hour, and then you keep the additional £4. The other person will send you an invoice and you simply pay that invoice. And when it comes to doing your tax return, remember that they only want to know about profit. So the money that you pay out to that other person is not your profit. That is an expense of your business. So that can go out like that.
So let's say the customer paid to my account, which is my private account, and I do have to share the money with the person who would work with me. So as an income, how I could actually treat that, how I can actually prove that it is not 100% mine, that I share with a partner or something?
Because you would have, you would need to get that person to send you an invoice. So you would have to keep that invoice, and also you'd be able to show the money leaving your account on your bank statement, and they would be receiving that money.
Okay, so basically the person who would work with me would have to create an invoice every single time for every single job.
Or they could do it, it doesn't need to be for every single job. You could say that you do it monthly. So they will charge you per month for any work that they've done, and they will have to send you an invoice with a detailed breakdown of where they've been. So say they've done 10 jobs, they will just put it in a list and say, I did number 10 Red Road, you know, just making that up, and the amounts, and then you'll just pay that on a month-by-month basis.
Okay. One more question in regards to
Sure.
the same topic. So if I do that way, and it comes to my self-assessment tax return, what do I need to point it out as a self-employed? Do I need to add someone to my business in that self-assessment tax return, or I just do as I do at the moment? I just do the self-assessment tax return just for myself.
You would do the self-assessment tax return for yourself. So that's if that person is self-employed as well, they are responsible for their own tax return. If you are employing them, that means that you would take the tax out first, then you would need to get that registered, and there are other costs involved. So when you're an employer, rather than the other person being self-employed, you've got to pay what is called employer's national insurance. And so that's an extra bit that would have to come out from you. But as I say, if the other person is self-employed as well, it is for them to do their tax return. You do your own tax return, and you would put any money that's gone out to that other person as an expense. So it doesn't count as profit that you've had. So you won't be paying tax on it.
That's what I want to know. Thank you.
Fantastic. Okay, bro.
Thank you for that question. I have actually learned a little bit as well.
Okay.
Aisha, can I ask a
Sure.
couple more questions, perhaps? You mentioned earlier about putting all your expenses and calculating your cash flow. How do you actually distinguish if you, for example, working from home, what's the percentage of your, say, bills you can put towards your business as if from, for example, the internet costs, your energy, the space, equipment, and so on. How do you calculate it or add it as expense? And secondly, do you know any sort of places where you can find the accountant, but accountant for specific type of business? Because there's lots of different people, but obviously it's a very vast area. So there is, certain type that need to specialize in the type of business you do, so they can advise you, for example, when you're growing.
Right. So I'll start with the second question. So in terms of getting an accountant for a specific type of business, like you say, there are absolutely loads out there. So it's really difficult for me to say exactly where you might find that accountant. But I would recommend, of course, Google, and make sure that they are close to you. Because you will want to meet your accountant. You'll want to make sure you're comfortable with them knowing about your financial affairs. And you'll want to make sure that they have got your best interests at heart, because, often you will see, you'll have a bookkeeper or an accountant that will, they'll get everything done, but they might not be saving you the most money. So you want to make sure really that, they know the rules and that they're applying them in the most effective way. But other than that, I think Google is unfortunately your best bet. Now, when it comes to your expenses, this too is a complicated one, because really there isn't a set, there's not a set percentage. And that is because it varies. So it depends how often you work at home. It depends how often you're using things like your phone or the internet. There is a thing on the .gov website, which is a simplified expenses checker. And if you go online and Google simplified expenses checker, you can basically input your details and it will tell you how much you are able to claim back, which is really, really handy. And that's a tool that a lot of people use instead of having an accountant if you're looking to do your tax return yourself. Because the thing is, for a lot of us, if you are running a very small business that doesn't turn over a massive amount of money, paying out £400 for an accountant to only save you, £100 in expenses simply doesn't make sense. It's not a viable option. That said, if you are making a lot of money and you want to use an accountant, they will be able to advise you specifically based on your personal situation, how much of those expenses you can claim back. So my apologies that that's not more of a comprehensive answer, but the answer is truly that it varies depending from situation to situation.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
So Aisha, you could use a bookkeeper, could you, to make things slightly cheaper for smaller businesses? Is that what you would recommend?
You can use a bookkeeper, but the thing is, when it comes to tax returns, well, you're really looking at a fee of anywhere from £200 to £500. And regardless of whether you use a bookkeeper or an accountant, the thing that keeps the costs down is how simple it is for them to do that tax return. So a bookkeeper most likely wouldn't be able to save you a significant amount of money when it comes to the self-assessment. But it might be that in the general day-to-day running of your business, you might use a bookkeeper. And what they will be able to do are things like, well, VAT returns, sorry, not the VAT return, but things like bank reconciliation. So as you use accounting software, you will need to match up anything coming from the bank to the receipts that you've got on that software. And a bookkeeper would be fantastic at doing that. A bookkeeper can sort out things like PAYE or CIS, which is construction industry scheme. And then it might be that at the end of that financial year, you get an accountant to come in to tie up all of those loose ends and submit any of your returns that you might need to. So that is an option when it comes to saving money on things like that.
I've got a question for Aisha, you personally. If I don't know if you would be available to be my guest on one of my business English lessons I run on Saturdays for CCS. I think it would be fantastic to have you. So just let me know. Maybe I'll email you later. Okay.
Please do email me. I'd be more than happy to do that for you. Yeah, that'd be brilliant. And have I got any questions from anybody else? No, it's been a fantastic session, and it's a good job we finished early as we've had some really brilliant questions just come up. It's been an absolute pleasure having you all, and look forward to seeing you all soon.
Thank you, Aisha, for such informative sessions. I think it's been amazing. Thank you so much. And hopefully in the future, you know, if you're available, we can set up some more, if that's okay. I think they've been really well received from